Hey all, Jason Levon, priest at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Welcome to another edition of Pause and Pray. This morning on the way home from a much needed, socially distanced outdoor visit with some dear friends, I found myself passing a cemetery here in Milwaukee where many of my relatives are laid to rest. And I also found myself as I passed it not going too much further, but turning around and going to the cemetery for a visit. I've always found myself drawn to cemeteries, in part because I so appreciate the rest that so many souls and stories are finding there. I think of the complexity of our stories of grace, but also stories of imperfection. And I long for that kind of rest myself, as I am such a restless being. I also find the gift of humility whenever I step into a cemetery, as I'm reminded of the truth of the words that are spoken to me when ashes are put on my forehead on Ash Wednesday, and I am reminded that I am but dust, and to dust I shall return. But this morning I found a different gift in my visit to the grave sites of my grandparents and several aunts and uncles. As I pondered their stories with many chapters, again, some of incredible joy and grace and wonderment, and also chapters of heartache and sorrow and imperfection, I realized the truth of the cliche that life is, in fact, a marathon and not a sprint. And I found in that realization the great gift to find a different pace in my life, even if it was just for the 30 minutes or so that I was at St. Adalbert's Cemetery this morning. Because for far too long, I'm one that wants to simply react to the pressures and stresses and anxiety of my life, which has been huge, especially during this pandemic. But in those 30 minutes or so, as I pondered the gift and the shortcomings of the stories of my beloved relatives, I found my life brought to a different pace. I found some holy permission to pause, to breathe, and to live out the wisdom that's tattooed on my forearm, the Hebrew word harpu, which is found in verse 10 of Psalm 46. Harpu meaning, be still, as God says to us, be still and know that I am God. It was 30 minutes of grace and gift that I needed more than anything today. And I don't have much more for you than that, other than an encouragement and an offer, an invitation to all of you to spend some time today pausing and being still. However you come to that, whether it's taking a walk in a cemetery or curling up with a good book or lighting a candle and sitting in silence, to allow God to bring your lives to a different pace. Oh, and while you're being still, don't forget to breathe, and breathe deeply. Breathe in the love of the one who understands that we cannot hold it all together on our own, and precisely because of that wants to be breathed in deeply into our lives, so that we can inhale the grace and the peace and love and light and mercy, the only gifts that are able to bring us to the finish line. God's peace and blessings to you all.